First off, I would like to say thank you for everyone who has joined us in person, also those who are tuning in online. This is a long time coming. It's good to see the youth who are coming up through the program as well as those who have gone through the program in the past. We really appreciate your support, and I've already heard some very inspiring stories about how people are doing these days, and it's really, really good to hear. As I think about all that I've been through, all that I've heard about people going through, it reminds me of a poem that I learned when I was pledging my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and it's by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horrors of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am the captain of my soul. That means a lot to me because at the end of the day, bottom line, you are in control of your destiny. You are in control of what happens with you throughout your life, the decisions that you make through life. Ensure that as you get older, you find yourself in a place where you don't have any regrets. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have taken this opportunity. We don't have time for that. Life is too short. Again, I'm happy to see everyone. I want to acknowledge a few people as well. I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Burnley and family. It was excellent. His sister was able to make it up and surprise him. It's been a pleasure to meet you and see you in person, sir. Again, thank you to those who are tuning in online, virtually. Ms. Holly Coughlin, she's the executive director of the Shaker School Foundation and has been so implemental, so helpful, and so caring about helping to put this program together. Just really, really highly appreciated. Thank you for everything you've done. Mr. Richard Hicks, he's the advisor at Woodbury Elementary. Thank you for all that you do, sir. Mr. Justin Lockhart, advisor at the middle school, great guy, there for the children, not to get a check, not that the check is that big anyway, but we appreciate everything that you do as well. Also, Ms. Laura Meckler, she's a journalist for the Washington Post. Welcome, and we look forward to having discussions with you as well. Ms. Connie Showholter, MSN Outreach Specialist. We appreciate all that you've done in terms of programming and the conferences that you've done for the Minority Student Achievement Network. Mr. Keith Langford, he is the Director of Family and Community Engagement. I've worked with Mr. Langford on several projects, and he is truly a person that is very helpful in terms of what's going on with the families in the community of Shaker Heights. I would also like to say thank you to Ms. Tracy Williams, who is the advisor at the high school for the Max Sister Scholars. I want to give a shout to the Max Sister Scholars as well. And I really hope that you all enjoyed today's program. Thank you again, and welcome.
All right. Can everybody hear me all right? Cool, thumbs up everywhere? All around the room? Okay, cool, thank you. So I just want to say welcome everyone. I'll be your MC of sorts for the day. Now, just a few things about me so we can just get it out the way real quick. One, I tend to be long-winded. I'm going to avoid that today. Okay? Amen, you're right. Leading right after that, amen. Two, my father was a pastor, okay? So naturally, I ask for audience participation, and I apologize if that makes you uncomfortable because I cannot stop it, okay? So we're just gonna get that out of the way now. So, now that I'm loose, we're here because this is probably the coolest thing that I've ever done, partially because I think the Mac Scholar saved my life personally. So being here on a reunion where it's 30 years in the making is kind of a beautiful thing. There aren't a lot of organizations that make it 30 years, let alone exist outside of the walls or the confines that they were created in. You know, usually when you create something in a building, it stays in that building, and once you leave, that's about it. Somehow we figured out how to get the right sauce where we figured out how to all move forward and reach back at the same time, and that's sort of the theme of today. And as we move forward with the program, is moving forward while reaching back, because if we aren't doing both of those things, then we aren't really growing, progressing, or being who we were meant to be. So here we are as a group, online, in person, all over the world, and I mean, you'll see in some of these videos that we're everywhere. Like, not just in America, different countries, like doing many different things in all facets of life, and I think that's a beautiful, beautiful accomplishment. You don't really get to see that all the time. So for that, let's give that a round of applause. Good job. Okay, and as promised, with my attempt as not to be long-winded, would like to show you guys a video of us just over the years, you know, focusing on reaching back while moving forward. Thank you.
In 1990, as a member of the Achievement Committee, Mary Lynn and I and 15 other staff members recognized that there was a tremendous concern pertaining to the academic achievement of the incoming ninth graders. So we decided to bring in or ask achieving African American males to join our committee.
And we showed them the statistics, and they said, we need to do something about this.
So they were just saying, give us the opportunity to do something positive for kids that we feel we can assist.
When you first had this idea, how many people told you that it was something that was not needed, but now 30 years later, look at what you've created.
We may have started out with 10 or 12 students attending, and toward the end of the year, we had 40 or 50 students that were coming to these meetings, and they were all about academics.
To this day, I still use many of the things that I learned in the Shaker Heights High School auditorium during Mac Scholars meeting. Every year, I write out my goals and keep them in my wallet, a tactic I learned from Ms. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre.
I remember one young man had stressed the fact that the scholars helped him to overcome the mindset that's oftentimes created through social stereotypes and negative peer pressure.
You guys are a lot of the foundation and the reasons why my life is going pretty well, and how I got here, just the lessons that I get to take across and helping other guys with like coaching and like getting into college and like that kind of stuff.
The notion of reaching back while moving forward.
I know I speak for so many people when I say I wouldn't be where I am without you and your mentorship and your guidance and your friendship over all these years.
I consider it one of the highlights of my life, and I'm very proud of each and every one of these young men.
It's an honor to be able to see 30 years being celebrated for this phenomenal program that has made quite an impact, not only on me, other alumni, and continues to put Shaker Heights on a national and international stage.
The scholars that I have now as seniors were fourth grade Mac Scholars. The cycle is continuing.
Mary Lynn and Hubert have really set a model for all of us to aspire to.
Thank you, Ms. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre, for all your years of service to the Mac Scholars program. You are appreciated.
Your influence shines well beyond this program and continues to be strong as ever.
You changed a lot of young black males' lives.
I'm forever grateful, and I'm proud to call myself a Mac Scholar.
And I just wanted to thank Mrs. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you for making me a better person.
Just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGovern. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
I want to thank Mrs. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I gotta thank Max Scholars for helping me believe in the strong and intelligent black man that I am.
Really appreciate everything you guys provided. Thank you so much.
It really means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For all their years of service to the Max Scholars Program.
For the 30+ years they've done it for. Thank you for everything.
So, without further ado, also, quick note, there is water in the back if you get a little warm and you just need a little drink or something like that. There's water in the back in the coolers. But also, bringing up Ms. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre.
Well, do you want to start, or should I?
I'll start.
I knew you were going to say that.
We have been working on this for 30 years, Mac and I, and it's really all of the people who have helped us put this together to help the young African American males become young people who are successing and doing well in school and learning how to learn and growing up. I can't think of anything else that I can say except that this, next to my family, this has been the most important thing in my life. I could never have found anything else that would give this much satisfaction and love for the young people who were our MAC our MAC kids that we were working with, and with our MAC scholars. You can talk now.
Well, I asked her to go first. I asked Mary Lynn to speak first because I could always count on her to express the feelings and the thoughts that I have regarding to this program. On the video, you have all these young men like yourself saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to be honest with you, I'm the one that's thankful for you. I'm thankful for you. The only reason that I've been in this program for the 30+ years is because the passion that I have for this program has continued to grow because of you. Mm-hmm. Because of you. This program is a program I did not have. I didn't have this program in the 9th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade. This is a program, I know Mr. Arisa said, hey, thinking back and reflecting on what your life was in the past, you know, you don't need to do that, but sometimes it helps you establish the foundation for the future. And when I think back to myself as that 9th grader coming into a high school with all of the 10th graders and juniors and seniors, et cetera, in the building, I was lost in that space. But I was trying to pretend I wasn't. See? And in doing so, this was what I was really needing. An upperclassman coming up to me and saying, hey, you look lost. What's your name? What class do you have this period? Did you, who's your English teacher? You know, hey, I can help you basically walk through this whole process of East High School, and it'd be a lot simpler than you trying to discover the process on your own. And that's what this program is about. It's about reaching back and helping your brother have a better understanding of the process that he's going through, that you've gone through. Same thing for the MAC sisters. We're here to help each other. That's the bottom line, because if I'm not doing that, why am I here? Why am I here? See, Lawrence Fishburne's a great actor. At 17, he had his first role in Apocalypse Now. An actor that has years of experience. And his name escapes me for right now, and it'll come back to me as soon as I sit down because I'm a little bit older now. But he said, I remember exactly what he said to Lawrence Fishburne. He looked at him and he said, never mistake
your presence for the main event. Never mistake your presence for the main event. This is about us. It's not just about me.
That's right.
There's a difference. We're good?
Yes, yes, he said it beautifully.
Okay.
I'll just say, you did a good job. We've been together for 30 years with this program.
All right, we're going to call on Mr. Summers. He's going to do a roll call. So we're grateful that you guys are here, ladies and gentlemen, parents, friends, guests. Welcome. This is going to be a great day.
And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad everybody had a chance to come out today. Michael Summers, I'm a Mac Scholar from the class of 1994. I also am a Scholars Advisor at the middle school and have been since 2000. So I sit in a very special place that when I was a freshman in high school in 1991 and the Mac Scholars program was created, I'm going to be doing a roll call for everybody that registered. And the first group, which is from my era, are definitely gentlemen that I looked up to when I was a lot of you gentlemen's age. I still reach out to them now. One of the gentlemen, Mr. Will Knight, is running for the 11th Congressional District, and I was more than happy to help him with his campaign. And as you guys hear your names called, please feel free to stand up. So one of the very first gentlemen that I looked up to as an older brother, a mentor, a family member, I grew up in the same area that I did in the Lomond area, Mr. Will Knight. Another gentleman that's here, and I know for a lot of you guys, when you guys get a chance to come to some of these meetings, you guys, you know, I'm from the class of 94. I'm obviously from a different era. You guys see the gray hair on my face. And you guys will get a chance to see older guys than myself. But this program has really been around for a long time, and it has impacted a lot of lives. Another gentleman that's here today, and I am just so thrilled because he was somebody I wanted to emulate in the hallways as well. On the competition field, out there in football. He's a lefty just like myself, and he was my captain from the class of 92, John Perkins. A few other gentlemen that were here from my era, Aaron Sharpley. We ran track together. He's a class behind me in 95, but where's Aaron? Stand up. All right. As we move forward, after I got out of high school, we had some more guys. And if you're not here, obviously you wouldn't have a chance to stand, but if you hear your name, go ahead and stand up. Arnell Brantley, Alan Foster, Raji Welsh Bay, Brian Mitchell. All right, Mr. Mitch, I didn't see you registration. I apologize. Isaac Kidd. Okay. Now that took us all the way through to the 2000s. Now in 2000, something very special happened with our program. Our program expanded. This is when I came back to the middle school, and the Scholars program was then tiered, like a lot of you guys already know, all through the district and the younger grades. As well as at the high school, we established the Mac Sisters at this time as well. And also through the 90s, we would go along, Ms. McGovern, Mr. McIntyre would get a lot of us together. We would go to neighboring high schools and we would give talks about what the Scholars program meant to us and how it all worked. And now there's this whole collective across the country and internationally of Mac Scholar programs. They might go by different names at their various schools, but they are extensions of our program. This led to the MSAN, Minority Student Achievement Network, one of our esteemed advisors for that is Ms. Connie Showalter. I know that she's online, so if we could please, thank you. From our MAC sisters that we have here from the class of 2002, I'm sorry if I don't say your name, your age, Ms. Brittany Webb. Thank you, thank you. And then on into the 2000s, we had Clinton Buey, Corey Morrison, Ahmed Abdul Rasul, LaDawn Bishop, William Warren, Mr. Nicholas Winbush, class of '07, Marcel Clopton, Morgan Upshur, class of 2010. And some of our more recent graduates in the early teens, Sean Brown, Ifeolu Clater, class of 2013, Keith Hubbard, Dr. Christopher Jackson, James Kellen, Lawrence Shelvin, Anthony Spencer, Brenton Sullivan, Bradley Alexander, Patrick Reed, I know he's here, yes sir. Mr. Wesley Smith, Mr. Malik Wiggins, Mr. Will Clausen, Nolan Coates, Micah Gandani, Malik Joseph, Mr. Jordan Randall, Xavier Anaton, Brett Hansen, Mr. Nashir Rashid, and Keith Langford. Just want to give everybody a round of applause. Thank you all for registering for our program. Coming up next to the stage, we will have Mr. Kingston Seals to deliver our pledge.
May everyone please stand for the Max Scholar Pledge. I am an African American, and I pledge to uphold the name and image of an African American man. I will do so by striving for academic excellence, conducting myself with dignity, and respecting others as if they were my brothers and sisters. Thank you.
All right, I'm back. So, every time somebody comes up here, I get a little emotional because I have such a strong tie to this program, and I really feel like everything that I do is from the origin of this program, that kind of thing. So it's real weird, the emotions that I'm spinning through at the moment. And I've seen Mr. Mack maybe 3 out of the last 5 days, and I've learned a super deep, important lesson every time he starts talking to you. It usually starts with something light, oh man, how you doing? That's great, that's nice to see you. All right, those are nice shoes, this is fantastic. Did you know that your soul is protected? Oh, okay. All right. He's like, I'll tell you a parable. And then next thing you know, he goes into this long spinning thing. And he's like, and that is why we are here. And I'm like, God, this is a lunch break. So every time he does it, the last couple of days, I'm just I don't know how he has so many of these. And it's happened that way since I've known him. So since I've been in high school, which now every time we talk about it, freaks me out a little bit. So that is just interesting that it keeps happening like that. And then watching who I know as Coach Summers come up here and talk about how he's been all in the program and how he tapped in the middle school and how he was here with the OG stages and now he's still here and sort of I don't know if there's many people who've touched the Max Scholar program like outside of those two more than he has. Just like almost everybody in the program has experienced at least a moment with him, and I think that's amazing. So I'd like to give it up again for those guys. Now, to someone who is like a brother to me, no one busts my chops more than this person, and they really get after me a lot, but he's coming up to do something special, and I love this guy with all my heart, Ifeolu.
Good morning. Microphone's loud. So we're going to start with a video. We're going to recognize Juneteenth because clearly we cannot be here as Max Scholars on Juneteenth and not recognize Juneteenth. And so the video is up, and I'm going to talk a little bit after the video, but we're going to start with the video.
Juneteenth is a holiday that may have slipped off the calendar of even the most die-hard history buff. If you've brushed up on your history or you're from the South, you're aware of the holiday commemorating the day African-American slaves in the South got the news they were free, 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation.
People didn't want us to really know. One reason because they wanted to get the harvest in, and there was no way to communicate really effectively like there is now. And it couldn't be enforced by the Army because the Army wasn't there. There was a few military guys there. But when, say, Colonel Granger came in there, he also had some, let's call them colored troops. And so he was able to read that called Executive Order 3. And when he was able to read that and share it, our people then would just jump up and down. They were happy. They were just so excited. And some didn't know what to do. Some cried, I was told. And from that time until now, all across this country, African-American people try to remember we have something to celebrate.
The day still has social and political implications for all Americans and can be compared to the 4th of July.
This has now gone across the country, not just in the South. It's in California. It's in other places. About 43 states right now do allow that to be a recognized state holiday.
Juneteenth celebrations occur all over the nation, and in Houston, the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum that honors Black soldiers from the Civil War until present times is throwing an event called MAD, Museum After Dark, where everyone can come and celebrate, and more importantly, learn some history.
And so the gentleman spoke about the Buffalo Soldiers and talked about a poem that was read named The Colored Soldiers. And I actually found that poem. I'm going to read it because I think it has a lot of meaning, especially when we think about the history and thinking about the fact that how he said people were enslaved in Texas 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. So when we learn about slavery, when we think about slavery, and we think about the treasury and like the strenuousness of the work, and we think about the fact that 2.5 years after these people were supposed to be free, and thinking about how there were people who fought, how there were people who had been enslaved, people who look like us who have been enslaved, who fought, who had to fight for the Confederacy in some instances, but also fought for the Union, fought for their own freedom. We have to acknowledge that. If the muse were mine to tempt it, and my feeble voice were strong, if my tongue were trained to measures, I would sing a stirring song. I would sing a song heroic of those noble sons of Ham, of the gallant colored soldiers who fought for Uncle Sam. In the early days you scorned them, and with many a flip and flout, said these battles are the white man's, and the whites will fight them out. Up the hills you fought and faltered, in the vales you strove and bled, while your ears still heard the thunder of the foe's advancing tread. Then distress fell on the nation, and the flag was drooping low. Should the dust pollute your banner? No, the nation shouted, no. So when war in savage triumph spread abroad his funeral pall, Then you called the colored soldiers, and they answered to your call. And like hounds unleashed and eager for the blood of the prey, spring forth and bore them bravely in the thickest of the fray. And where'er the fight was hottest, where the bullets fastest fell, there they pressed unblanched and fearless at the very mouth of hell. They rallied to the standard to uphold it by their might. None were stronger in the labors, none were braver in the fight. From the blazing breach of Wagner to the plains of Ulster, they were foremost in the fight of the battles of the free. And at Pillow, God have mercy of the deeds committed there, and the souls of those poor victims sent to thee without a prayer. Let the fullness of thy pity o'er the hot wrought spirit sway of the gallant colored soldiers who fell fighting on that day. Yes, the blacks enjoy their freedom, and they won it dearly too. For the lifeblood of their thousands did the southern fields bedew. In the darkness of their bondage, in the depths of slavery's night, their muskets flashed the dawning, and they fought their way to light. They were comrades then and brothers. Are they more or less today? They were good to stop a bullet, and to the front the fearful fray. They were the citizens and soldiers when rebellion raised its head, and the traits that made them worthy, those virtues are not dead. They have shared your nightly vigils, they have shared your daily toll, and their blood with yours commingling has enriched the southern soil. They have slept and marched and suffered neath the same dark skies as you. They have met as fierce a foeman, and have as brave and true. And their deeds shall find a record in the registry of fame, for their blood has cleansed completely every blot of slavery's shame. So all honor and all glory to those noble sons of Ham, the gallant colored soldiers who fought for Uncle Sam. Thank you all.
Okay, I'm getting juiced up because I know what's coming next, you don't. But it's picking up. So I just want to introduce Andrew Loney, who is a senior Mac Scholar. Come on up, big dog. You can just go that way.
Dr. Lawrence Burnley was appointed University of Dayton's inaugural Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion on July 1st, 2016. Previously, Dr. Lawrence Burnley served as the Associate Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and the Assistant Professor of History at Woodworth University in Spokane, Washington. He is also the President and co-founder of Inclusive Engagements, LLC. Dr. Burnley has led cultural immersion trips throughout the world and has facilitated numerous seminars and workshops with senior administrators, faculty and staff, and students in the areas of biblically based understanding of diversity, equity, inclusion, inter-cross-culture dialogue, and critical reflection on doing ministry in domestic and global contexts. Dr. Burnley was ordained as a minister in the Christian Church in June of 1990 at Fifth Christian Church in Cleveland, Ohio. His first book, The Cost of Unity, African American Agency in Education in the Christian Church, 1865 to 1914, is published by Mercer University Press. He is also a contributing author in the Stone Campbell Movement, A Global History. A Cleveland native, Dr. Burnley holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in History of American Education with a minor in Multicultural Issues in Education from the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. He also holds a Master of Divinity degree from Christian Theological Seminary in Indianapolis, Indiana, and a Bachelor of Arts degree with honors in African American Studies with a concentration in history from the University of Cincinnati. He specializes in drawing intellectual and theological perspectives together to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies, both on and off campus, college campuses. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Burnley.
Good morning. You know, I'm just going to pause here for a minute. To hear my name mentioned in these halls in that way is a testament of a lot of good things that's happened to me over the years. I want to ask at the beginning, I have been given 25 minutes. I'm looking at Mr. McIntyre. Thank you for not giving me the original 8 to 10 minutes to talk. I'm an academic and a preacher. So I'm challenged to keep it within that time limit, but I'm going to honor that. I'm going to ask, first of all, for all the VIPs in the room to please stand. Everybody should be standing on their feet. Everyone who's able should be standing. Look at each other, because each of you are very important people. Each of you. So let's give each other a hand. That was my way for those who've been sitting for the last 45 minutes to get the blood flowing. So please be seated. Okay. Thank you. I consider it an extraordinary honor and blessing to be standing here at this moment in this special place that holds so many memories for me. I feel thankful and blessed to be here for this occasion, the Minority Achievement Committee's 30th anniversary reunion. As an alum of Shaker Heights High School, the class of Soulful 74, do the math, and the father of Rashad Lateef Burnley, for whom the Minority Achievement Award is named, I am humbled by Mr. McIntyre's invitation to be present or to present the keynote address for such an important occasion in Mac's history. What's up? How interesting it is that we celebrate this anniversary today, Juneteenth, a day that commemorates, before I go any further, Rashad's little brother and my wife are there in the audience. I'm going to acknowledge them. Stand up, Rashad, Tulani, and my wife. I have my sister and nephew and cousins. They're here, but I just needed to do that. I have to go home after this, and so, okay. But how interesting it is that we celebrate this anniversary today on Juneteenth, a day that commemorates the revelation of critical information that was kept from an oppressed and enslaved people. Critical information that was hidden from them. Information that would have been disclosed or should have been disclosed years earlier. As we deliberate today under the theme, Reaching Back While Moving Forward, I want to talk to you for the next several minutes on the topic, Looking Beyond Our Reach. Looking beyond our reach. Many of you may be familiar with the word Sankofa. Sankofa is a word or concept that comes from the Akan, Twi, and Fante languages of Ghana, West Africa. Sankofa means to go back and get it. Go back and get it. Symbolizing the need to learn from the past, to understand the truth of who we are in order to move forward to a better future. The Sankofa symbol is a bird who was looking back. This symbolizes the Akan people's quest for knowledge. This quest is based on critical examination. I'm looking back for this timing of my clicks here. This quest is a critical examination. It's an intelligent and patient investigation. In other words, the concept of Sankofa suggests that in order to have an appreciation of and a critical understanding of where we are in this moment, in order to gain clarity of the challenges that we face, to understand what caused them, and to develop strategies and remedies to repair and solve these challenges. Just looking back, we do this in order to identify and appreciate the opportunities presented in the midst of these crises that we face today, in order to understand and to appreciate the beauty and brilliance of who we are. In order to move forward, we must first look back and examine our history. We must purposefully and intentionally position ourselves to hear and study the truth of the experiences, good and bad, the insights and wisdom of our ancestors, those who have gone before us. It is only through looking back, only through this careful study and discovery of our past, only through engaging and discovering the strength and genius, yes, genius, of our African foremothers and forefathers, can we not only understand where we are and how we got here, but it is through that looking back and discovering the knowledge that has been intentionally kept from us that we will be able to effectively reach back to embrace our brothers and our sisters. It is through gaining the truth that will enable us to move forward on a path of liberation, freedom, excellence, and radical inclusion, which is rooted in an uncompromising commitment to justice and peace, not just for you, but for all people. I read somewhere that it is the truth that will make us free. Over the Memorial Day weekend, I watched an old movie in which a character, a woman, was in a life-threatening situation. In a desperate attempt to save the woman's life, a flight surgeon is asked for medical advice to remedy the situation. The person asking for advice became agitated because of how much time it was taking for the flight surgeon to offer a treatment plan. The flight surgeon paused from his efforts to develop a plan and said to the one seeking an immediate answer, and he said this, and I quote, "How can I give intelligent instructions if I don't know the case history?" This unexpected lesson from the scene of an old movie, or in this movie, is this: you as students cannot, we as a community cannot move forward unless we not only reach back, but look back. We must reach back and lift others as we climb. Yes, we must do this, but we must look back and study and examine the case history of the human experience. We must examine this history from multiple perspectives, but especially from the perspectives of those who share our racial, ethnic, and cultural identities. Let me be clear. When I say you must look back, I'm not saying that you must, or I am saying, excuse me, I'm saying that you must, we must, look beyond the historical windows as mandated by state standards and the core requirements of graduation. I acknowledge that we have incredible and gifted teachers in the Shaker School District who make a choice to teach beyond what is required of them by state standards. But it is absolutely critical to understand, Max scholars, these state standards which inform the content which you are required to read and engage are created for the purpose of protecting, maintaining, and reproducing the position of power and privilege of those who created them. If I had time, I would repeat that. Looking back to learn the truth of your history will have a profound impact and influence on how you and how we conceive or envision the image of the African American man and woman you have pledged to uphold. Looking back will cultivate within us an appreciation of the beauty of our dark skin, an adoration of the texture of our hair, and the thickness of our lips, characteristics that our formal and informal education in many ways has and continues to teach us to detest. Looking back critically and with determined curiosity will cause you to rethink, reshape, and redefine the concept of academic excellence. You will no longer be satisfied with what you are required to read. You will no longer be satisfied with that. You will hunger for more. But more importantly, looking back will cause you to redefine yourself and those to whom you are reaching back to embrace as you are moving forward. Looking back in this way will ignite and fuel within you a determination to reach back for the purpose of embracing your brothers and sisters because you have discovered the greatness and unlimited potential within yourself and within those you're reaching back to uplift as you move forward. Looking back will create within you a growing awareness and understanding of how barriers designed to hold you back were created, how they were created, and how to overcome them. Looking back will help you discover that those whom you are reaching back to lift as you climb are not some other, but are extensions of yourselves. For as a result of looking back, you will discover the truth of the African worldview, that it is not about I, as Mr. McIntyre shared with us earlier. It's not about I or my success. It's about we. It's about our success, our survival. It's about the community. It's about the village. We are one, but don't twist what I'm saying here. We are not only one as black people, we are one as a human family. Some of the scholars with us this morning may be saying to themselves, well, Dr. Burnley, I take history and social studies. I'm already looking back, getting good grades, and so I got that covered. To you, I can only hope that you have teachers who understand the need, the responsibility to bring to the center of your required reading those voices, stories, and narratives which are prevented from being at the center of your educational experience. As a historian, I had the privilege to engage extraordinarily bright and intelligent students at colleges and universities throughout the United States and in various parts of the world. These students and their faculty have been stamped with the seal of approval by educational institutions, public, private, secular, and faith-based, from kindergarten through the terminal degrees. They were matriculating or had graduated, many with honors from institutions claiming an unwavering commitment to academic excellence. These students, to a person, were familiar with the philosophical and ideological perspectives of Plato and Aristotle, whose images are on the screen. They were familiar with the exploits of the Roman Empire under leaders such as Julius Caesar. These students were well versed in the explorations of Christopher Columbus and other explorers of the New World. They were, as no doubt you are, systematically exposed or systemically exposed to the literature and contributions of William Shakespeare and Mark Twain, and they learned of the exploits of Amelia Earhart. These students were conversant in the thinking of John Locke and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. These students, bright, high-achieving students, have been required to think deeply on the theological perspectives of Martin Luther and John Calvin, and they were exposed to reflect on the courage of Joan of Arc. They were required to engage the great thinkers of the Western rationalist tradition. Yes, these students were well educated, and they had the grade point averages, honors, AP credits, scholarships, and degrees to prove it. Yet, the large majority of these students knew nothing of the great pre-colonial civilizations of the Nile Valley, Songhai, Ghana, Mali, Zimbabwe. These well-educated students represent the best and the brightest products of institutions committed to a particular framing of academic excellence, were not required to study the rich legacy of African resistance to chattel enslavement from the inception of the transatlantic trade from the 15th century through the passing of the 13th Amendment. They were not required to examine, appreciate, and critique the rich complexities of African history and culture, or those of other marginalized and minoritized groups. My students would say to me in college-level courses, African American, they say, Dr. Burnley, how come we've never heard of this before? Yet they were all graduating from institutions that made a claim and commitment to academic excellence. Mansa Musa of Mali, Makeda and the line of the Kandake queens of Kush in Ethiopia, Idris Oluma and Cleopatra are just a few of the great African kings and queens whose land gave birth to civilization. Sheikh Anta Diop, Martin Delany, Anna Cooper, Countee Cullen, Charles Drew, my illustrious fraternity brother of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. You know I had to get that in, Nate. But thanks for Invictus, brother. That took me back. Appreciate it. Charles Drew, Ida B. Wells, Henry Highland Garnett, Francis Watkins Harper, Marcus Garvey, Katherine Johnson, Garrett Morgan, Cleveland, you better know about Garrett Morgan, Bessie Coleman, are all giants of African American and U.S. history in their respective fields, yet they and untold others were not and are not as well known to these students. These and countless others remain hidden figures of our public and collective memory. Max Scholars, did you know, Max Scholars, did you know that before your ancestors, our ancestors were picking cotton as enslaved people? Note, I did not call them slaves, because we were never slaves. That was the condition we were in. It's not who we were. We were enslaved people. Before we were picking cotton as enslaved people in Mississippi, our ancestors were building pyramids along the Nile Valley in Egypt. Did you know there is evidence of West African navigational capabilities and contact and trade with civilizations in Central America centuries before Columbus? Before Columbus got lost and discovered what is now today known as the Bahamas. Have you heard of the late, great Rutgers University scholar, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, and his book, They Came Before Columbus, The African Presence in Ancient America? Some of y'all looking at me like, Africans and before? Okay, that's another, all right. To the educators among us this morning, I pose these questions, and I'm moving toward my closure here. What messages are we sending about our understanding of excellence and about race when we confer diplomas and degrees at every level of education without students ever being required to engage the voices of these and other extraordinary contributors to our national and global history? To the educators, what message are we sending to all of our students when the standard of excellence does not require students nor the faculty charged to teach them to critically examine the histories and cultures not only of the people of African descent, technically we all are people of African descent, but that's a whole other talk. Not only are people of African descent, but the indigenous peoples of this land, Latinx communities, Asian Pacific Americans, and other populations that remain underrepresented and underserved at predominantly white institutions. Those are questions for another conversation, but today, as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of MAC, as we remember the passion and commitment of Ms. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre and a host of other teachers and administrators over the years who gave and continue to give of themselves to support the advancement of MAC's mission. As we salute and remember MAC scholars, past and present, one of whom is my son, Rashad Lateef Burnwood. And as we support and challenge the teachers and MAC scholars of today, let us not only reach back as we move forward, let us look back in the spirit of Sankofa to learn and make known the hidden figures and other hidden truths of our history and culture. Let us look back and unlearn the lies that presents our ancestors as uncivilized slaves, as opposed to people who have made immeasurable contribution to the advancement of humankind. while overcoming unimaginable challenges and violence aimed at holding them down. Let us look back so that we reach back, that as we reach back, we can move forward together with our brothers and sisters to a place of greatness, of justice, and service to humanity in ways that may currently be beyond what we can hope for or even imagine. And finally, know this: you cannot, you must not depend solely on what you are required to read and study in your schools as the only mechanism for looking back. While we have come a long way in achieving a more inclusive curriculum, we still have a long, long way to go. The reality is that our deep and rigorous examination of our history, our stories, and our narratives, and those of other marginalized and minoritized communities continue to be electives and not required in order to be considered well-educated. Sadly and tragically, for all students, what we're required to read and study sends the message that Black history, Black stories, and Black narratives don't really matter. You can get it if you want it, but you don't really need it to graduate cum laude or valedictorian. Clearly, you must read, I'm going to make this point, clearly you must read and value what you are required to read. But do not be satisfied with merely meeting the requirements. That's my message. Doing so falls short of the standard of inclusive excellence. To achieve inclusive academic excellence, Max scholars, and yes, teachers of Max scholars, you will have to go after knowledge of those figures and stories that are systematically and intentionally hidden from you. In other words, you have to go back and go get it. So this afternoon and throughout the day, Max scholars, as you lay out a strategy, build a framework that will guide your way forward, I strongly encourage you to build as a primary pillar of your strategy for reaching back while moving forward, a commitment to look back and discover your greatness and your possibilities. The future of humankind may depend on it. Thank you.
All right. What did I say? I told you I was about to do this. I told you I was getting ready to happen. But before I get there, I just want to say it's hard to explain, Dr. Burnley, how your words sort of permeate through the building. Through the building, because I was fortunate enough to be one of the recipients of the Rashad Burnley Award. And I know some of my folks online, as well as some in the building, also received that award. And it was exactly what you just said. It was going above meeting the requirement. That was, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but it's the most sort of heralded award that you get at the MAC Awards. It's the one that we cherish, and the one that amongst the scholars who we have brought together as the cream of our crop, you know, in that group, that award is chosen. And that's a big deal. I don't want you guys to think that it's not. That was the biggest deal. So there are some of us who walk around in this world with your son on our hearts every day and sort of trying to fill those shoes because it was a big deal. He was a big deal, and because of who you are, he was who he was, and I want to say thank you again. And we have a little something for you. Okay, so I will avoid my emotions. Gonna ask you to stand up one more time. Okay, just check something out. We're gonna play a game. If you are able to stand, please stand. Okay, and when we go here, and the other one, and the leg, and the other leg. Now you're doing the hokey pokey on accident. Congratulations. But it's also a break. I just cheated you again. Okay, you can sit down. I just wanted to make sure your blood was still pumping. Good for you. Okay. We're going to bring Mr. Mack back up to sort of acknowledge our little celebration here. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody who's already graced this stage. I've spent a lot of hours on the stage, just doing all types of stuff, whether it was the Mack Scholars, Chanticleers, choir, shows, all types of stuff. This is pretty much a nice little home for me. So I'm gonna bring Mr. Mack up again, and we're gonna keep it rolling. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to take a few minutes, well, actually about 60 seconds to set the stage for the next celebration that we're getting ready to encounter. Dr. Burnley, I have no words to express how I felt about what you had to say and the impact that you've laid the foundation that we've always believed in this group. And so we're just moving forward with what you shared with us this morning. All right, the celebration of achievement. This year, Mr. Reese, that quote that he shared with us from Invictus, and at the end he said, "I'm the captain of my soul." That's a message that in many different ways he's always sort of putting in the heads of the Mack Scholars and myself as well. You know, the fact that you have the ability to make choices and decisions for yourself. So I asked after this year was a tough year. We had started off with inviting, normally when we have a Mack Scholars meeting, we got 79th graders, 89th graders sitting in the audience. This year it was Zoom. So we had 89th graders invited to Zoom, but we only kept between 30 and 40. All right, so next year, see, Zoom's gone, and some of those guys that didn't make it through this year, we're gonna be knocking on your door next year as 10th graders. But the thing I wanna say as far as the celebration of achievement, I asked the seniors, this year I had the seniors basically decide how they want to put this award ceremony together. The juniors conducted the interviews this year, but both seniors and juniors accepted the challenge of we're the captain of our soul in this program. Yeah, we're Zooming, but we're still going to work with the kids that show up on that screen every other week. We're going to have our planning meetings every other week. We're going to do what we do, and that's what these guys did. So you're getting ready to see the celebration of achievement. I asked the guys, hey, how do you guys want to put this together? They said, Mr. Mack, why don't we do this? Why don't we set our achievement program expressing and explaining what goes on in a Mack Scholars meeting? Because, see, a lot of people don't know what goes on in a Mack Scholars meeting. All right? So that's how this is set up, in accordance to what we're doing and why it's being done. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Reese, and I am the District Max Scholars Coordinator for the Shaker Heights City School District. Welcome to the 2021 Max Scholars Award Ceremony. First off, I would like to say how proud we are of our young men who went above and beyond what we could have expected, but at the same time, I'm not surprised at all. These guys did everything that they could and then some. Mr. McIntyre will get into that a little bit later. But for now, we hope you enjoy, and I'm going to hand it off to Jihad Arif.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Jihad Arif, and I'm a senior here at Shaker Heights High School, and I am also a Max Scholar. We, the Max Scholars, welcome all of you to the 2021 Max Scholars Awards program. All of the senior Max Scholars presenting tonight have been involved in the Scholars program since elementary school. Our advisors then and now continue to emphasize the importance of our academic achievement and strong character. The Max Scholars program at the high school involves high-achieving African-American male juniors and seniors who act as mentors to incoming African-American male ninth graders called potential scholars. In order to have a positive effect on the potential scholars, we consider the following attributes to be of the highest importance: respect, pride, honesty, sensitivity, and confidence. At this time, I would like to call on Evan Ward.
Good afternoon. We would like to extend our thank you and appreciation to Dr. David Glassner, Superintendent, Dr. Marla Robinson, Chief of Staff, Dr. Jeffrey Ann Wilder, DEI Director, Mr. Eric Julie, Shaker Heights High School Principal, members of the Shaker Heights Board of Education, the McGovern Family Foundation, the Stokes Family Foundation, the Shaker Schools Foundation, the Shaker Heights Teacher Association, Shaker Max Scholars alumni, Mr. Chuck Tisdale, and Mr. Louis Burrell. We begin every meeting with the Max Scholars Pledge. The pledge was written 30 years ago by Glenn Hunter. Fellow Max Scholars, would you please stand and recite the pledge with me?
I am an African American, and I pledge to uphold the name and image of an African American man. I will do so by striving for academic excellence, conducting myself with dignity, and respecting others as they are my brothers and sisters.
You may be seated. The reason we say the Max Scholars Pledge at the beginning of every meeting is to remind the potential junior and senior scholars that it is our responsibility to uphold the name and image of an African American man, not only in the classroom, but also in society. Alumni Max Scholar Cullen Buey said, "Everything we need to know is in the pledge. It is our roadmap to the mission of this program." At this time, I would like to call Dalton Mosley.
Good afternoon. After we say the pledge in our meetings, Max Scholars are usually prepared to tell their stories. Now, everyone has a story to tell, and everyone has a story that serves as a foundation for why they do the things they do. There's a story behind why myself and my fellow Max Scholars are standing here. There's a story as to why we are giving the potential scholars the praise and guidance they deserve. And there's a story behind why the potential scholars kept coming back to us for that guidance. But why do we do it? The answer, well, it's quite simple. We tell our stories so that they connect with other people's stories. Max Scholars want to be able to connect with the potential scholars so that we can share in the journey to excellence. By telling our stories, we are opening ourselves up to that connection and inspiration that we want. So, in that way, we are putting ourselves on the table for others to see and inspiring them while also connecting with them and our inner selves.
My name is Evan Ward. I am a Shaker Max Scholar, and this is my story. So around the age of 12, I got into a Ohio State summer engineering program. And when I went there, we learned a bunch of various things with engineering, mechanical, electrical, and really how this applied to our world and how we can get jobs, how we can use this, and really just what it was. And so by the age of 12, I didn't really know what engineering was, or really if I even wanted to be an engineer at that point. But after going to OSU and experiencing what engineering really was and having like that hands-on real feel for it, I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is me. I gotta do it. And so from that point on, it was really about how I can be that type of engineer, you know, like getting my grades up, just really taking all the engineering courses I need, the necessary math, science, English classes I needed to take. And really from that point on, it was just really what I needed to do. And so at that point, I was doing fine. 8th grade, I was taking the necessary math, necessary English, but science, well, science I wasn't really doing that well in. And my teacher, I'm not gonna call out his name because I like the dude, but I wasn't really doing my best. And you know, he didn't really see the potential that I saw that I had in having science and becoming an engineer. And so when conferences came, he said, Evan is doing really well in the class. I think he can really go far and get a B. Of course, a B is fine, but you know, I didn't think he saw the potential that I saw that I could get an A in that class. And so that brought me down a lot, you know? And then I kind of started second guessing, like, should I become an engineer? Am I smart enough to become an engineer? Or, you know, should I just do something else and just take the safe route out? But, you know, until I got to high school, that really changed for me, and how I started having that same mindset again of like, okay, I need to start doing this and be this and just like do me, because nobody's gonna do it for me, and I can't listen to nobody what else says, like my teachers, my peers. I just gotta know that I gotta be an engineer, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And so now, senior year is by, I'm in AP Calculus, AP Physics. I'm going to OSU for mechanical engineering, and right now I'm working on an engineering job down the street from my house, and yeah. But I guess the moral of the story is, if you know what you want to do, and you know what it takes to do it, then go for it. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Just know that if it's your dream, go ahead and achieve it. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to call on Rudy Collins. Good afternoon. Rashad Burnley was a 1997 graduate of Shaker Heights High School. He was inspirational, an outstanding student leader, and as well as a mentor for high school Max Scholars. He was relentless in his efforts to lift the younger students to heights where he knew they could achieve and thrive. Rashad tragically met an untimely death at the very early age of 19. In his memory, the Rashad L. Burnley Minority Achievement Memorial Fund was established. Today, Enrichment Awards will be presented to senior Max Scholars who represent the dedication and leadership that Rashad brought to the Max Scholars program. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Laura O'Reilly, Director of Development for the Shaker Schools Foundation, to present the Enrichment Awards. Ms. Laura O'Reilly.
Hello, I'm Laura Arazzi. I'm the Director of Development for the Shaker Schools Foundation. I am so pleased to join you today to congratulate our Max Scholar seniors and to wish them well on their journey ahead. The Foundation is pleased to be able to offer special honorariums to each of this year's graduating seniors. The recipients of the Max Scholar Fund honorariums are Jahid Arif, Rudy Collins, Noah Foster, Evan Ward, Mikhail Wilcox, and Jaden Griffin. 2 seniors are receiving the Rashad Burnley Memorial Award, which was established in memory of Rashad Burnley of the class of 1997 to honor his commitment to education and leadership. This year's Rashad Burnley Awards recipients are Kendall Berry and Dalton Mosley. This year, we are also able to offer a new award, the Reuben Harris Jr. Award, made on behalf of the Caring Communities Organized for Education, recognizes 2 continuing Max Scholars who have shown the most growth in their grades during the 2020-2021 school year. The recipients are Andre Murray and Ethan Bryant. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your leadership and your service to our school community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. O'Reilly. And thanks again to the Burnley Family Foundation, the McGovern Family Foundation, as well as the Stokes Family Foundation for your generous support and offer that you give to the Max Scholars Program. At this time, I would like to call on Jaden Griffin.
Good afternoon. A Black History Profile presentation is given by a Max Scholar at every meeting. The profile is a tribute to African American men who have made significant contributions to America and the rest of the world in the fields of science, politics, law, sports, the arts, entertainment, and many other fields. The profile can be a contemporary figure who is demonstrating integrity, leadership, and determination. These discussions can provide life lessons that can be used not only as a seed of hope, but of conviction. Professor Maulana Karenga, the creator of Kwanzaa, wrote, "History gives Blacks an understanding of themselves by suggesting possibilities of future national and world achievement based on what they have achieved in the past." At this time, I would like to call on Mikhail Wilcox.
Good afternoon. As Max Scholars, we are responsible for bi-weekly planning meetings before every session with our 9th graders. Checking in with the young men to see how they were doing personally was the most important part of the lesson. We would have large group or breakout room groups to address issues that concern them during the school year. This year we discussed a variety of topics that we believed would help the potential scholars become more successful and strengthen their decision-making skills. These topics include setting goals on our phones, organizational skills, time management, building confidence, the importance of academic resources, advocating for yourself, the importance of freshman year, the value of networking, career readiness, and our seniors' last words. At this time, I would like to call on Kendall Berry.
Good afternoon. This past year, the Max Scholars Program had a few challenges and struggles. We began the summer with interviews for the new 11th grade Max Scholar candidates. New candidates mean new ideas and additional leadership diversity. This is important when working with 9th graders who are filled with questions and some degree of anxiety. Once the interviews were complete, we had intense and extensive planning sessions on how we would conduct our meetings in a virtual setting with 30 to 40 9th graders at the end of the school day. Zoom meetings with the potential scholars meant we had to stress that to maximize involvement and participation, we needed everybody's cameras on and be prepared to participate when called upon. This message was emphasized at every meeting by a leader. We also knew that the internet technical difficulties would result in lagging or disconnection. So we as leaders made sure if anything like that happened on their end or ours, we would continue the flow of the meeting as best we could. Zoom also gave us the privilege of having alumni Max Scholars and guest speakers join in on our meetings, which was great. This past year truly showed us that despite the struggles and challenges faced, we were still able to create interactive sessions that we believe had an impact on potential scholars. Speaking of alumni Max Scholars, every year we ask a Max Scholar alum to be our keynote award speaker. I'm happy to say that our guest speaker today is Shaker Heights Police Department Officer Zachary Sadler. Officer Zachary Sadler graduated in Shaker class of 2009. He was a Max Scholar his junior and senior year. He attended The Ohio State University, where he received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Sociology and Criminology in 2013. He attended the Tri-C Police Academy. He has been a member of the Shaker Heights Police Department since 2017. We welcome you, Officer Sadler.
Hello, my name is Zachary Sadler, a 2009 graduate of Shaker Heights High School, a 2013 graduate of Ohio University with a BA in Sociology and Criminology, and a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm currently working as a police officer for the city of Shaker Heights, and I'm a 4-year officer. I also own my own golf instruction company called First Swing Cleveland. I would like to congratulate the ninth graders, award recipients, on the job well done. Remember, you are setting a great example for your fellow students. I want to touch on two subjects that I believe were a great help throughout my high school and college career. Don't worry, I'll be brief. The first topic is talking about your friends. Who are your peers? During my time in high school, I surrounded myself with people who wanted to succeed in school as bad as I did. A lot of them were Max Scholars. Their desire to be the best drove me to want to perform at my best. I want you young men to ask yourselves, who are your peers? Are they helping you in your journey to perform at the highest level in sports and academics? If you can, have a conversation with your friends or your friend group on how you can achieve a higher level. The last thing I want to stress within who are your peers are make new friends. Shaker Heights is a diverse school with many different people from many different walks of life. Take advantage of that. Me getting outside of my comfort zone, I was able to surround myself with people from Student Group on Race Relations, the baseball team, the football team, and outside of that as well. The last subject I would like to speak on is time management. Learning how to manage my time in high school made my college experience that much enjoyable. I use my smartphone to plan out my day, my due dates, and dates with the ladies. With time management, I was able not to feel overly stressed and be in control. I believe when I had a score meeting in the evening, I had a project due next day and a test, I felt overly stressed because I was a person who didn't always plan out. I would kind of wing it, get it done when I could get it done, rather be playing video games or hanging with the boys playing basketball in the backyard. But I've learned through my high school and college career, if you use your planner, use what the high school has given you, use your smartphone, which has several different calendars. If you plan out your time, you need to do what you have to do what you want to do. Lastly, in closing, gentlemen, this is just the beginning, as I said before. You have a great life ahead of you, and you're in a great position right now inside the Max Scholar program to make the change you want to see inside yourself or continue the high level of achievement that you've already obtained. If you're ever wondering about looking for your career or figuring out what you're going to do once you graduate high school, college, ask the adults around you. Ask your mentors. Ask your teachers, church members, workers outside of school of how did they get there? What did they think of? What did they do? I've had the honor of coming back to my city where I was born and raised to serve you and others. If you gentlemen ever need anything, let me know. I'm right down the street, 3355 Lee Road. I'll be in the squad car, usually car 21. Wave me down. Let's have a chat. Thank you so much. Take care.
On behalf of the Max Scholars, we thank you, Officer Sadler, for your encouraging message. Now, it is time for the awards portion of our program.
At last, the moment that we have all been waiting for, the 2021 Max Scholars Awards for Academic Achievement. We will first be awarding silver medals to the 9th grade potential scholars who maintained a 3.0 to 3.9 grade point average. These young scholars have taken on the challenge of honors classes and have attended our meetings regularly. The silver medal winners are Nehemiah Crosby, Kevin Jackson Jones, Braxton Martin, Elijah McCreary, Aiden Murray, Khalid Nicholson, Amarion Richard, Charles Spurl, Shane Williams, and Ian Williams Foster. We would like to thank Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Reese for their leadership, their passion, and their commitment to the Max Scholars program.
The gold medal academic achievement category will be for the 9th grade potential scholars, who who accomplished their academic goal of a 4.0 grade point average or higher. These young scholars have also taken on the challenge of honors classes and attended our meetings. The 6 gold medal winners are John Butler, Quentin Garnett, Cameron Latson, Alexander Patterson, Andrew Walton, and Isley Woods.
Hi, I'm Joseph Hernan. I'm the 9th grade assistant principal at Shaker Heights High School. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Reese, for asking me to be here today. I want to thank you, too, for your leadership and your mentorship of our MAC scholars and our entire student body. So thank you for all you do. Our MAC scholars and our potential MAC scholars, I want to applaud you guys and the hard work and dedication you all put in this school year. It's definitely been a difficult year, and your hard work and effort definitely does not go unnoticed. So congratulations on a job well done this school year. I really want to focus in on one particular potential scholar this year. The final gold medal goes to the 9th grade potential scholar who achieved the greatest increase in his grade point average over the past school year. He also has taken on the challenge of honors classes and attended all scholars meetings. This year's gold medalist raised his grade point average from a 2.3 at the end of 8th grade to a 4.0 at the end of his 9th grade year. For outstanding academic achievement, it is my pleasure to award this gold medal to Cameron Terry Richardson. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I'm a freshman and a potential MAC scholar. We all have adversities and obstacles to overcome while striving for our goals, and sharing our stories can inspire others to go through that struggle and those adversities so that they can reach their goals as well. In the 5th grade, I was accepted to the Scholars Program, but after that, my 6th to 8th grade year, I was doing poorly academically, and I was really struggling those years. I was too focused on what my friends were doing and other things that my grades weren't where they were supposed to be. This year, my 9th grade year, I tried to buckle down and got my grades where they were supposed to be. I was able to bring my grades up, and some strategies I used were asking for help. If you ask for help from a teacher, then they can inform you on anything that you missed in the class or that you weren't sure of. Not procrastinating. You don't want to have assignments due tomorrow and you have 3 weeks worth of assignments that you need to complete. You don't want to have that weight on your shoulders telling you that you need to complete that. Going to after school meetings. Going to after school meetings, you can meet with teachers to study for tests, or you can do assignments there if you need help. My best subject this year is my geometry class. My teacher in that class, he's helped me out a lot during this year with recommendations for summer programs this year. He's also helped me push myself to my limits in this class, and he's been a great help this year for me. I also wanted to talk about how the Scholars Program has affected me. Mr. McIntyre, Mr. Reese, Mr. Summers, they have given me the opportunity to see successful African-American men and women during this program, and to see somebody succeeding that's the same color as me shows me that I have the potential to be great after these 4 years of high school and after these 4 years of college, or even more. It shows me that I can become an engineer and be successful in life after these 8 years of school left. A quote that I would like to share with you all is, "The most successful people see adversity not as a stumbling block, but as a stepping stone." Sean Anker. So what that means to me is that you're not letting all of this adversity and all of the struggle that you face during this year or your years in school, but you're using that as fuel to give yourself motivation for this year. I used that when I lost people close to me this year, and I had to push friends away so that I could focus on what I had to do because they weren't focused on the same things as me. And that's what that means to me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Cameron, for that awesome message. Congratulations to all the potential scholars.
We proudly leave this program in the capable hands of the upcoming innovative group of senior Max Scholars who are Ethan Bryant, Ian Bryant, Mohammed El-Mashay, Alexander Holmes, Ayande Joseph, Al-Hassan Kaba, Andrew Loney, Andre Murray, and Justice Riley.
We know you scholars will continue to carry on the mission of the Max Scholars Program, which is reaching back while moving forward.
Finally, farewell to my fellow seniors. Good luck as we follow in the giant footsteps of the alumni Max Scholars.
Wherever we go, whatever we do, we will always be Max Scholars.
Good afternoon. My name is Hubert McIntyre, and I am a Max Scholar Advisor at Shaker Heights High School and Shaker Middle School. I am proud to have had the opportunity to work with another talented group of seniors and juniors who were Max Scholars this year. They accepted the challenge of creating and presenting weekly Zoom meetings after school, and sometimes on weekends, while at the same time fulfilling their own coursework and extracurricular activities. These young men maintain a level of commitment to challenge and inspire their ninth grade brothers, and they did an excellent job of doing that. Seniors, I wish you the best in your future college endeavors, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you at the 30-year Max Scholar Alumni Reunion that will be held on June 19th. Incoming seniors and juniors, I welcome the continuation of your leadership and your innovative ideas. Congratulations again to the ninth grade potential scholars who were acknowledged today. To all, have a restful and well-deserved summer vacation. Thank you.
All right. That was pretty cool, right? I like to think so too. Yeah, give it up. So just a few quick things, because I don't know if this is hitting everybody, but that 3.0 to 3.9 for the silver medalist is an upgrade. When I was here, it was like 2.7 to 3.5. You get the silver medal, and I was like, yeah, that's fire. You feel me? To 3.9 is crazy, and then to have 6 over 3.9 is outrageous. That's huge. So that was pretty fly to see. That they all right. We gonna be okay. That's all that told me. Now I'd like to bring up a pretty fly fella, somebody who is pretty much doing grassroots work for building this whole thing. It's how you end up with, you know, so many guys in between the 3.0 and 4.0 or better, is because there's a foundational system that there's some real work being done. It's not, as I would call it, for play. This is where we really molding some young dudes who are really gonna be able to change the world one day. And in that video, it clearly shows that it's some heat on the way. But it all starts with Mr. Richard Hicks. Come on up. Yeah, Richard Hicks.
That's pretty awesome. Watching the video, I'm gonna go off script just a little bit here before I know I have a allotted amount of time. I remember once I had to cover Mr. Reese's class for whatever reason, maybe at Woodbury, and I don't know if it was science or math. So the next day when he came in, I told him, I said, well, I went off script, Mr. Reese. So he told me, don't you ever go off script. We're running my class again, so I'm gonna get back on script now, but that's so awesome as I look around and I see so many former scholars I had. Currently, I'm the 6th grade Max Scholar Advisor. I've been 5th and 6th grade over the years. First, I'd like to thank Mr. McIntyre, Ms. McGovern, Mr. Reese, and the entire alumni committee for this inspiring event. As I look across the room, it is so wonderful to see former Woodbury scholars and present scholars, as well as scholars who did not go through the program at Woodbury. It is my privilege and honor to speak about the Scholars Program at Woodbury. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Miller and Mr. Reese for inviting me into the program along with Mr. Wimette Smith at that time. In 2011, Mr. Miller left Woodbury to teach at Lomont, and I was asked to be the advisor for the incoming 5th grade potential scholars. It was a daunting task not having a lot of knowledge about the Max Scholars Program. So what I did was I went to the website and was blown away by the history of the program. The previous year, Mr. Miller had asked me to recite the libations at the induction ceremony. Again, I was blown away to see these 5th and 6th grade boys who looked like me being honored and recognized for being outstanding students and leaders. I looked out into the auditorium and I saw these proud parents, grandparents, and guardians light up and glow as their student or their son, their grandson, their nephew, or family member was being recognized. And at that point, I knew I wanted to be part of this program. I knew I had to be part of this program. At that time, Woodbury was the first exposure to the MAC program before middle and high school. Thanks again to Mr. Reese and Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, as the 5th grade advisor, introduced and nurtured the potential scholars into what it meant to be a MAC scholar. He introduced them to the pledge, the handshake, and the attire. In the 6th grade, Mr. Reese focused on character, responsibility, and commitment while enhancing the tenets of the 5th grade Scholars Program. When I entered the program, the foundation was already set. All I had to do was continue the things that were already in place. I believe coming from corporate world, I brought an added perspective: branding, self-motivation, teamwork, leadership, and what the tenets are needed to succeed in that world. When Mr. Lyndon Brooks came to Woodbury as a 5th grade advisor, I moved to the 6th grade. He brought a youthful, energetic component to the table. As you can see, there has been an awesome team of advisors at Woodbury to pour into these young scholars. I would like to tell you about some of the things we have done at Woodbury, and this is just a small amount of the things that we've done. In the 5th and 6th grade, we have introduced our scholars to a vast genre of speakers and careers. Under our watch, we have had chefs come in, most notably the owner of Edwin's on Shaker Square, who came in and brought some of his staff and did a dining and food presentation for male and female scholars. We've had NASA engineers who came in and did an interactive presentation on science and space. We have been going to Case Western Reserve University Anatomy Camp, where the scholars have had the opportunity to see, touch, and learn about the human body. In the 6th grade, male and female scholars have taken a college tour each year to Kent State University with Mr. Reese and the 6th grade advisors. We have invited the high school scholars, along with Mr. McIntyre, to come and inspire our Woodbury scholars. This year in the 6th grade, we discussed all the challenging events that occurred in 2020 and 2021. This was a challenging year for the entire nation. And during that summer prior to the school year starting, I was thinking about what curriculum would I like to bring forth to my 5th and 6th grade scholars at Woodbury. And I thought about how we as adults were feeling about all the events that were occurring in the world. And I wondered, you know, sometimes we ask our kids how they feel, and they just say, I'm okay, it's all right. What do you think about that? So I called Mr. Reese up and asked him, I said, you know what, how do you feel about this? I would like to have them create a journal as to their thoughts, their feelings on several things going in. So what I did was, it was hard doing the COVID and being remote, but these are the things that we discussed. We discussed COVID and how the different effects it had on family, school, friends, neighborhood, and community. We discussed the politics that was going on in the nation. We discussed division in the country. You know, we were so divided over so many issues that I wanted to know their perspective as to what they thought. We discussed police brutality. We actually had seminars that we had with the police department to go over certain things, and I brought in the police to come and do some talking about those things. We discussed protests that were going on all over the nation over our president, our politics, our division, race, Black Lives Matter, and a variety of different activities. We discussed the insurrection on the Capitol. And I do give honor to Shaker for having a presentation that we actually took, I believe, a few minutes out of the school day to have a discussion with our students as to how this affected them. We also had community meetings with the Shaker House Police Department, which they bought into willingly. That was Chief Prosecutor Randy Keller, Chief of Police Jeff DeMuth, Commanders, and Sergeant Grafton. So as you can see, the program at Woodbury is constantly growing and evolving, from preparing for the next grade, for middle school, high school, to college and career goals. It has been a wonderful and awesome ride and adventure working with all the advisors and, most importantly, the scholars. I thank you, and I'm so proud to see so many of my former guys out here, because you got to remember when I had them, I'm going off script. They were this size when I had them. Now when I see them now, and they're looking me eye to eye, and some even taller, I looked at a few of them that are taller than I am now. It's amazing to see these men, or young men, that have grown so well. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your lives.
Hold on. You stand there. Also, thank you. Okay, so we got a little something for you. We got something for you. You don't know what it is, do you? Okay, good. Okay. So we have one of his former students, Miko. Come on up.
Now
Yeah.
we need more.
There you go. You want to say something?
It is an honor and a privilege to acknowledge Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks displays his attribute of generosity, loyalty, devotion, love, and patience, but most of all, integrity. My force in this speech is Mr. Hicks' integrity, because I was a student with some challenges. He never looked down on me, and he never criticized me. Instead, he built me up. He would say, how can we find a solution to this problem? How can we be a better person? Mr. Hicks has shown me a better path to take. He has given me the tools and the knowledge to help me build myself up during certain situations. This is what a leader would do for you. I thank you for being a positive role model in my life. You are the epitome of what a Max Scholar is. I thank you for everything you've done for me and all of those other students who've crossed paths with you.
So we would like to say thank you for your commitment and dedication, and it is our pleasure to give you this Max Scholars Award. There you go. Give me that. There you go. So they knew each other from way back. Okay, so that's some old school stuff there. So appreciate it. Thank you. Okie doke. So, as we continue moving forward, some big time coming up to the stage. Okay? So we're looking for Mr. Maxwell Kelly. Come on up. This is gonna be your president one day, just watch.
Hello, families, alumni, and fellow scholars. It is an honor to be able to speak with you all today. My name is Maxwell Kelly, and I'm a scholar here at the Shaker Middle School. I would like to share with you the amazing experiences I've had while in this program and how it's helped me through the course of my education. But first, I would like to give a big thank you to all of the alumni that have come from all over the country to give back to the Scholars Program. To begin, this program has introduced me to a lot of successful people that have given advice to us. It is not every day that you get to spend like a couple hours in a meeting with some of these successful people and learn about what has happened in their lives and be able to get advice from them. So I think that's probably one of the most valuable things I've gotten out of this program. I was also able to make a lot of new friends during this program, and these are not the friends that you just joke around normally. They're also here to hold me accountable, and the saying, be your brother's keeper, I think that would be a very good phrase to describe the friends that I've made in this program. Scholars has not only taught me new things and introduced me to new friends, it has also kept me motivated to get good grades and work hard while in school. I think that is probably one of the big contributions to my work ethic and grades. To me, being a scholar is not a title given to anyone. To me, being a scholar is being a good person both in and out of school, because when you are a scholar, wherever you go, you represent the program. A scholar should be responsible, committed, perseverant, caring, and a great leader. And I have most definitely learned that through my past 4 years of this program. So I hope to continue to make new friendships and connections with others as I move further along in this program. Thank you.
All right, as an 8th grader going into 9th grade, there's no way I was going to be able to do that. So I think that's incredible. Good job, dog. So he talked a little bit about as you move in the world, when you're a Max Scholar, there's just a certain way you carry yourself, and it's not just within this building or just a title or something that's given to you. It's sort of how you live your life. And we sort of preach as a community that we're, trying to achieve a little bit of excellence, and everybody's pursuing that own goal. So we're going to move to a few professional spotlights for their career spotlights, and we'll give a little shout out because I think it's a little better to show you what we do than to always have to tell you what we do.
You did the 2 things we always talk about. What's that? You worked hard and you...
Have fun.
Have fun, my man.
It's a real star you got there.
Thanks.
Take care of those hands. They're taking you places.
I got hands. I'm gonna go pro.
You definitely could.
Easy money.
Easy money. Have you ever thought about what else you could be? Go along, son.
You could be a brain surgeon. Your hands could operate as skillfully as Dr. Myron Rowe. Or a sports agent, handling big contracts, like Rich Paul. What about an artist? You can be as creative as Brian Blue the Great. The art you make could inspire the world. Son, you can even be an astronaut. Flying in space with Leland D. Melvin. Sure, with those hands, you could play for a team, but you could buy a team. Ownership. Get to wear the rings first.
I can do all that, Dad?
You can be anything you want with these hands.
So we believe that to be true. I take that to heart, that message. So we're going to show you another video. This is for me, just a little bit of how I applied something like that to my life. Cool. So that's just a quick little video of what I currently have going on. So some of you know I've been in the fitness industry for almost 10 years now, just sort of training folks, doing one-on-one sessions, working with athletes, working with regular people, working with people with disabilities, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much been my jam my entire adult life. And it's sort of come to a head where we are now, where I'm a part of a franchise group where we opened a UFC gym here recently in Middleburg Heights. So it's the first UFC gym in Ohio. So that's pretty cool because we're pretty much all over the world. So the first one in Ohio, that's pretty sweet. Thank you. So I don't think that's the coolest part about it, because I mean, it's a gym, great, and like we have fighters who'll come through for like fight camps and that kind of stuff. But really the part that I cherish the most is how I got there, and a part of it is spending years and years like sort of burning the midnight oil with when it comes to like this training and entrepreneurial activity. I was getting up at 4, driving from Medina to downtown Cleveland, out to Bedford, back to, you know, Beechwood. Didn't matter. If I had a client somewhere and you wanted to work out at any point in time, we were going to figure it out. So then you start scaling and you start changing it, and then eventually I had my own sort of boutique gym down in downtown Cleveland where I was training out of, and that was fun because when scholars got to get to their senior projects and that kind of stuff, they started asking me, could I do my senior project with you? That was crazy, because then you get to sign off on somebody else's senior project. And I always thought that was weird, because I was the person asking, like, you know, adults, you go around like, hey, can I do a senior project with you? And then you just go bum around their office for about 8 hours. So I had students for like 5 years just come and bum around my offices or gyms for like 5 hours a day. And that was crazy to me. But it was scaling it to where that could turn into an opportunity to do something like this. And with the UFC gym and like being a part of their corporate structure and being able to bring something like that to Ohio, I feel pretty fortunate about, because not many people get the opportunity to do such things, especially being in upper management and that kind of stuff with an organization. So when we talk about moving forward while reaching back, I think a part of that is how things like this get to happen. You get to do it every day. I work with people who I've known for years, and as well as new people, and a lot of the folks who supported me in my journey through, you know, opening my own boutique spot, traveling all over to do this kind of thing, have been a part of this organization and being inspired by people in this organization. And Mr. Hicks talked about Mr. Reese putting character into people, and that was serious. I remember being a 6th grader at Woodbury and him really looking me in my face and telling me like, nah, you gotta get it together. Not everything's a joke. And I thought he was way too serious until I grew up and I was like, oh no, that's a cool dude. And then, you know, I was like, all right, cool. So we figured it out. And then you get here, and then you watch guys like Nick Wimbush, who was here, and you just watch him glide all over the court and be the biggest thing in the world. Like if you walked in the Shaker, you would have thought that his name was in lights. And it was like Wimbush, and then it was Wells, and then it was Rozier. And then you just watch it keep happening and happening and happening. And that was the coolest thing for me. So I'm just sort of trying to follow in those footsteps and do the right thing. So that was just my little tidbit about how I got here. And I'd like to welcome the OG. Been doing this thing a long time. We're talking about 30 years and being in this program from inception. Will Knight.
All right. First, I just want to talk about how this program started. This is so beautiful, how far this has come. I'm gonna give you a little bit of how this started. It wasn't as refined as we see now. Because in 1990, we were having issues with quote unquote gang fights and people fighting within the schools, and we were having some issues, sophomores fighting seniors. It became a real issue. And there were some leaders, there were some people in our school who were athletes, doing well in school and things like of that nature. And then, you know, our fine Ms. McGovern and Mr. McIntyre started coming and reaching out to students and trying to figure out like how can we reach some of these young people and get some of these things worked out. And we started coming up with ideas and saying, okay, this person could probably talk. We had a dynamic. They would try and just say, they looked at grade point averages at first, and I said, don't do that at first. Because some of these 9th graders ain't gonna listen to some of these kids that have 4.0s. I said, you're gonna have to take an athlete, you're gonna have to take a team captain. I said, I just put together a list of people who were kind of popular and just that people that people could look up to and try and listen to. But then one day they just said, okay, we're going in 1990, you know, fall of 90 into 91. They said, we got you guys the big auditorium. 9th period, you have 9th period, we're gonna have a group of kids in here, we'll split them up, and they locked the doors and said, you do what you're gonna do. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it wasn't quite a lot of handshakes with eyes, it was a lot of scared straight. I remember being over, my area was right over there, and I had a group of 10 kids, like, I saw you on Kinsman last night. What are you doing? Like, you know, we were in scared straight, like, you're gonna go to jail. That's what you're gonna be doing. Like, I know, I've seen it. I saw you out in the back of the egress trying to smoke weed. I saw you, what you doing? That's all. You heard all these groups yelling at people, and we just was in here, and we walked out the doors like, oh, it was great, Miss McCollum. Oh, we have something here. But we also enjoyed getting out at ninth period. But these kids wanted to come back because they got out in ninth period too. They're like, oh, we'll be back, y'all. But then you started seeing some of these breakthroughs. You start seeing some. And then you just see how it exploded. And as you know, I don't know where, I'm running for Congress in the 11th District. And the reason why I decided to do that was, I don't know if you know, I'm the head wrestling coach here at Shaker. I was a team captain, and I wrestled at Ohio State. And we had an inappropriate team doctor. And we have a lawsuit against them due to how they had these actions. And my assistant wrestling coach is one Congressman Jim Jordan. And he's probably one of the least liked congressmen, but he was someone that I used to be able to talk to and I had relationships with. And what I learned was he turned his back on us. And when I reached out to a lot of people in the community trying to get people, I was becoming an advocate for my teammates, trying to get them to come forward with these issues. And you find that it's interesting watching men try and deal with their past and come forward and try and really work through these issues. And I reached out to many other people in local politics and media and things, and it just turned a blind eye on us. And when the seat came up and the opportunity in November, they just talked about names of people who were inevitable that were going to win. They have names. They've been in it. Then they said, they're probably just going to win. And I made 3 phone calls. There's a guy he's an athlete here, a friend of mine named Major Harrison. People know he's a car dealer, one of the best car dealers in the area. A friend of mine named Kevin who works in Washington, and my lawyer at the time. And I asked him once, I said, I need you to talk me out of something. I honestly said it because I said, I need you to talk me out of something. And I said, they all said, what's that? I said, I think I'm going to run for this congressional seat. And all 3 of them said, why would I do that? And from that point, I said, okay, it's on. I started reaching out to people, calling people I knew, called Coach Summers. I reached out to Mr. McIntyre, Miss Montgomery, and I just started doing this process and working the process. And I started realizing the history of what we're trying to do in this world, where our family came to Cleveland, Ohio, via Akron, my dad being the first black man to work in a bank who wasn't a custodian, my mother getting her master's degree in education at Columbia University. And they stressed how important education was and the charter of what Shaker Heights High School could be if, as we say, people get out of the way of African Americans and the parents and the families and communities participate. You can see the greatness in what can happen. My oldest sister, rest in peace, is an anesthesiologist. My second oldest, I have a sister who's a bank exec. My brother is the head of the history department at Morehouse College, who was a graduate of Shaker Heights High School, an original SCORE member, and was a congressional page for Louis Stokes, who we thought was going to be the one running for Congress and being president one day. But we learned in education how important it is and how we have to, once again, reach back to move forward. Many of you people know me as Coach Knight. Might be the mean coach, run you out of my wrestling room around here, but it's all coming from love because I know where you guys are supposed to be. I know the potential of you. I know how great you can be. If I get out the way, if some people get out of the way and stop these barriers for you to have your education, and if your parents and families and mentors and grandparents participate, the greatness that can come from this. Like, every time I come to one of these, I believe I have to do more. I have to do more. And that's what I'm doing work to do more for our community, for our area, for our city. Everything's not dire like many of the people, opponents are talking. If you see the beauty of what we can do, we have to keep moving forward and keep fighting moving forward. But you guys have a responsibility what I tell my athletes and the people, some of you I might even talk to. I said, you guys are athletes. I know who you are. I know what it is. There's three things. If you want to be great, there's three things that you have an opportunity as a high school student. You have a social life, you got academics, and you got sports. You can only be great at two of those three. So you got to choose. I know I know some of us be good at going out. We were good at going out, going to hockey games after our wrestling matches. We were good at, we all know what it is. But you have to you got to keep your eye on the prize and see you have an obligation. Because what also happens is we as black men, we know an opportunity getting to Shaker what it has become for us. How many times have someone you met in Cleveland or somewhere and they said, man, you at Shaker, you rich. How many people in here rich? How many people is in here rich right? And they just look at it like, and then we're supposed to feel awful about being in Shaker and having these opportunities and our parents putting us in position to have a great education. But that's what we talk about, reaching back. For your friends that aren't doing the right thing, we have to elevate them up to where we are. We can't go back. There's no room for that. We have to elevate them to us, to where we're doing. These young men that got 4.0s, don't turn away. You keep on going forward. It is your obligation to raise these kids to where you are. Because when we do, there ain't nothing gonna stop any of them. You're never gonna be stopped. Raise them to you. Last thing I always say, my brother Fred, everyone always asks. All the guys that were, the knuckleheads in the neighborhood, we know the guys around, we see him around here in summers, they always ask, how's Fred? Fred was he left Shaker to be a congressional page. Now he's the head of the history department at Morehouse College. Has a book called Working the Diaspora, where he went and studied in Africa and proved the history of what Africans brought to America. And everyone asked me about him. All the alumni, they ask about him because they know Fred, they kept him out of trouble. The community helped raise him up. They helped raise us. I just want to do a moment of silence for all the friends that we've lost over here. I'll give you that. I was just talking to a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, who lived on my street. His name is Ben Williams. He was a class of 1973. And I literally saw him. He has been reaching out to me saying, Will, I need a yard sign. I need a yard sign. And this man, I dropped a yard sign off to him 2 days ago. We took some pictures, and not a lot of people call me William. My old school people call me William. I'd be 3 years old, walking down the street, wandering out, and he would say, William, where are you going? William, where are you going? He would grab. And it was very symbolic. He kept us all out of trouble. He was a part of the community, and I had my mother and father and 6 older siblings, but he was another person who knew, I got to keep that boy out of trouble. And I just want to, it's so very unfortunate because he passed literally the next day. I found out that he passed. And what I realized is they were a part of the community that helped raise us. And I'm going to be here to help you however I can, whether I win or lose. The support, I will help anybody in these situations. I will always be reaching back. And just for the sake of all the people that we know we've lost in the last few years, I'd like to maybe have a moment of silence for all of them because we know we've had a lot of loss, but we have to use that tribute to move forward, to keep trying to achieve greatness. Sometimes you don't get there, but you got to keep trying to achieve it. So, that was just an improv, but if we could, let's just have maybe a moment of silence for all the people we've lost and moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Will. So, it is time for the raffle, correct? Raffle time. Pull out your tickets. Let's see who won. What you got? Doom 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 boom doom boom doom doom boom 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 That's the only one I know. I don't know any raffle songs. Okay. Just so y'all don't think I'm biased, I'm just gonna look at you while I'm picking it. Okay. First ticket. 6894489. $4489, going once, going twice. Oh, you got it? Well, come on, man, come get your stuff. Your choice. Congratulations. Which one you want?
Can I get both?
No. What are you talking about? Yeah, there you go. 689-4505. 4505. Hey, yo, big winner.
Thank you.
Okay, don't worry. There's two more. There's two more. You're not out yet. Don't give up hope. Okay. 689-4501. 4501. Going once. 4501 going twice. 4501. Nobody's got it. I'm going again. Okay. 4517. 4517. How y'all ain't got the tickets? I know somebody got these tickets. If nobody got this one, I'm just gonna pick somebody. 4490. Okay. There we go. Good job. Okay, last one. 4530. 4530. Hey, yo.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, no problem. Okie doke. So I am gonna have Mr. Mack come on up and we do? Jesus. Oh, not the adults. Ha 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 ha. Okay, here we go. 4526. I knew it. Did you see it? I was willing this for you the whole time. All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's all the raffles for right now. Okay, you want to do the tell your story thing? Mr. Mack? Okay. Mr. Mack's coming back up. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I know everyone's thinking about lunch and all of that, and you're probably thinking about when are we all going to do our first assignment, Mr. Mack? I know we got something we got to do besides sitting in here listening to these speakers. And you're right, there is something that you guys will be doing before lunch. But before I actually go through the instructions regarding our first exercise for the day, I need to take a second to thank our online Mac Scholars and Scholar Program supporters for being here with us today. You will actually be involved in this first activity, but Mr. Summers has taken the responsibility of providing a link that you will be zooming in on with him, and he will be carrying you for the time pertaining to this particular exercise. Okay, so again, thank you, our online supporters, for being here with us today. Hopefully you enjoyed the program at this point.